Hello and welcome. My name is Melissa Galasso, and I am excited to discuss with you today a new ASU 2023-05, which is giving us a new subtopic 80560, recognition and initial measurement. ASU 2023-05 is going to address the accounting for contributions made to a joint venture upon formation. Currently, there is no explicit guidance, and so the goal of this is to reduce diversity in practice. Now, it's important to note that this ASU does not amend the definition in the Master Glossary of a joint venture. All right, so this ASU was issued in August 2023 and tries to provide guidance around joint ventures, in particular recognition and initial measurement. And so as we look forward to this, the key is going to be to focus on what are the key considerations that we need when we are contributing to a joint venture. There's currently significant diversity in practice due to the lack of explicit guidance. And so what we're looking to see here is what makes sense. Now, first and foremost, we need to know the scope of the standard. This standard does not apply to any of the following. One, transactions between a joint venture and its owners other than the formation of the joint venture, right? So subsequent transactions are not within the scope. Those would fall under other ASUs. Formation of entities determined to be a not-for-profit entity in accordance with ASC Section 958, which is obviously not-for-profit organizations. And so 958 already has separate guidance here, and so we are not going to address that here. Combinations between entities, businesses, or nonprofit activities under common control. Entities in the construction or extractive industries that may be proportionately consolidated by any of their investor venturers in accordance with topic 810 and specifically 810.10.45.14. And collaborative arrangements that are in the scope of ASC Section 808, except for any part of the arrangement that is conducted in a separate legal entity that meets the definition of a joint venture. And again, the definition of a joint venture is not changing. So we have no current guidance, and so to reduce diversity in practice and to provide decision useful information to the joint ventures investors, FASB we're going to require a joint venture to apply a new basis of accounting upon formation. So when we create this joint venture upon formation, the joint venture would recognize and initially measure its assets and liabilities at fair value. Now, there are a few exceptions, but those are consistent with the exceptions that we would already have in business combination guidance. And so again, here by using this new basis, we're going to start fresh. Now, obviously, fair value is a little bit more complex than if it were a historical cost basis. And there was a lot of debate about what would be appropriate here, because obviously, if we use the entities that are providing or contributing the asset, the current values there would be much easier to use. But that would not be consistent with the guidance that we would typically have around starting a new organization. And so FASB decided that fair value was a better measurement mechanism going forward. Now, this is very different from a business combination, because in a business combination, we're going to get slightly different outcomes. A joint venture is the formation of a new entity without an acquirer, right? In a business combination, we have an acquirer who's going to have an acquiree, and they're going to take the acquiree's book value to fair value. In this scenario, there is no acquirer, right? We still have our two organizations that are going to come together to create basically a third organization. So A and B create C, and they're going to contribute to C. And so there is no acquirer here. As a result, a joint venture would measure its identifiable net assets and goodwill at the formation date. So when we create this new organization, that is the key date that we need to be considering. And the initial measurement of the joint venture's total net assets would be equal to the fair value of 100% of the joint venture's outstanding equity interest. So again, the use of fair value being appropriate, similar to what we would go through in other processes. Now, it is important to note that if the joint venture is a private organization, and so it's a private company, they would be eligible for the PCC alternatives that came out of ASU 2014-18, as well as ASU 2014-02. ASU 2014-18 provide accounting alternatives for the recognition of identifiable intangible assets. So basically it allowed private organizations the options to not identify pretty much all of the identifiable intangibles with certain exceptions. And so items that could be customer lists that could be sold separately, etc. And so in that scenario, it would allow them to also just to lump into goodwill instead of recognizing these separate identifiable intangibles. Now, similar to ASU 2014-18 for private companies, this would require that the entity also adopt the ASU 2014-02, which would require them to amortize their goodwill for a period of up to 10 years. And so that PCC alternative is required when ASU 2014-18 is elected, because essentially if you're going to lump all of these items into goodwill, you would want to obviously, there's a finite life to them. And so they want to be amortized out instead of leaving them forever, since you're not going to be doing the impairment testing unless, again, you have some type of trigger. So both of those would be eligible. This new entity that is a private company, if it's a private company, would be eligible for that alternative. And there was a lot of discussion around the effective date. In fact, in the original proposal, it was TBD. So when they proposed this, they did not have an effective date in mind. They really wanted to see what people were thinking. And so it is effective prospectively for all joint venture formations with a formation date on or after January 1st of 2025. So in this scenario, a little bit of a unique one. There's no difference between public and private. It's just for all new joint venture formations after January 1st of 2025. Now, they did give an interesting transition here, which was if you had a joint venture that was formed before January 1st and you wanted to elect to apply them early, you would be able to. So that would be an option if you wanted to go back. So long as you had the sufficient information to do so, you would be allowed. So again, because there's diversity in practice, if you entered into an arrangement and you didn't use fair value, it would effectively allow you to do so, so long as, again, you have sufficient information to do so. Now, if you are about to enter into a joint venture, obviously one of the benefits here is that they are allowing early adoption in any interim or annual period in which the financial statements have not yet been issued or made available to be issued for those private entities, and that could be done either prospectively or retrospectively. So the standard was really looking to make this a little bit more clean as you can go through. And so a lot of times when they're going through this and they are requesting these types of changes because there is diversity in practice, the ability to just know what to do going forward, especially if you're about to enter into this one, especially for those private companies who now can elect this private company alternative for the joint venture, I think there's a lot of positives there. And so this is definitely something that we would want to consider. All right, so hopefully that provided you with just a little bit of background on what we're doing in ASU 2023-05 with respect to our joint ventures, and in particular the formation of those joint ventures and the use of a new formation start date of the fair value measurement at that date. And again, please make sure that you take a look at the exceptions, in particular for not-for-profit organizations, because that will be critical in the process. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on this Nano Learning, and we hope to see you on a future Nano Learning. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.